Is this thing recording? Alright, let's start. You have the gifts?
Yeah. You ready?
I'm ready.
Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to Vlogmas day 23. Today is the last day of Vlogmas. Babe.
I'm ready.
Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to Vlogmas day 23 today.
That's part of it.
Hi. It's been a while. Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to Vlogmas day 23. Today is the last day of Vlogmas. We have a very special guest. I feel like most of the new faces haven't seen you in a long time. You haven't been here in a while, have you?
No.
So today we're doing a Q&A while I wrap gifts, and then Ibrahim will be doing some questions. So we'll do like a quick rapid fire Q&A while I wrap some gifts.
So I'll be asking questions,
Yeah,
or
you
you switching?
As in, you just choose a question, then we both answer them on whoever's applicant. Alright?
So you rapping?
We don't want him to rap, guys.
Good.
We don't want him to rap.
Alright. Question number 1. What's your favorite trait you hope I never lose?
By the way, guys, if this is your first time tuning in, buckle up, get some snacks, get some drinks, because Ibrahim and I have a habit of talking long and making videos.
Well, it's a lot of questions.
No, we don't have to answer all of them.
Okay.
Anyway, so his favorite trait that I hope he never loses is how good-natured he is. I think he's very good-natured. He's very easygoing. Like, I don't think I've ever cooked a meal and this guy has ever complained about it being too salty or not tasting nice. I don't think he's ever come home to the house in a mess and say like, hey, what's going on? He's very easygoing, very good-natured, and I love that about him. It makes him very easy to live with. And I like that about you, and I hope you never change and become like this bitter old man or something. So what about me?
One thing that I've always liked about you, is how you always seek to improve yourself. So,
Which is both a blessing and a curse. Right?
well, it depends, but I think that it's a very good trait. I think that you're somebody who, one, never sits down on past achievements, and you always think like how you could be better and do better. And I think that that's good. That's a very good quality as a wife, as a mother, and as a professional as well. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Favorite show as a kid and why?
I really like Dawson's Creek. Dawson's Creek, you've never seen it, have you?
I've never heard of it. Must be terrible.
No, it was a really nice show. I really like Dawson's Creek. I've been looking for some place to watch a rerun. So if you guys know where, if it's Hulu or something that streams it, like maybe, I don't think it's active anymore, but like has the old episodes, let me know, because I would love to.
What is it about?
It's just about the life of a boy and a girl. They're neighbors, and they like their relationship along school. So like, I think the guy likes the girl, but the girl doesn't like the guy, and then eventually the girl likes the guy, but then the guy doesn't like the girl, and then eventually.
So it's like a high school kind of.
Kind of.
thing?
Yeah,
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I also like Ginger from Nickelodeon. Someone once told me the grass is much greener on the other side. You don't know that one? Okay. It's a good
I
show
didn't
anyways.
watch a lot of Nickelodeon growing up.
Alright, I know what your favorite show is. Your favorite show was... What's the name of that thing? Smallville.
Yes, my favorite show is Smallville. If you've never heard of it, the answer is yes, it is good. I wonder why you've never heard of it. It's about the life of Superman before he became Superman. So whilst he was growing up as a teenager and high school. And I really loved it.
Like, really loved it.
Yeah, but it's great.
I'm
it's
surprised
really
you haven't
great.
made me watch
Watch it.
Like,
Well, This is a weird one. Does the love decrease with 2 kids? What love?
Like the love between me and you.
I don't think so. Decrease? Why will?
Because when you have 2 kids, the time that the
What about
husband,
one?
when you have kids, and the more kids you have, the more time that you spend away from each other. The more your time is divided in the sense that you have to take care of the baby, you have to take care of the toddler, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to work. So like the more kids you have, the less time you have available to spend in a relationship.
Okay, I can see.
So that's why.
It's like a factor of the time decreases, therefore the time to nurture the love relationship decreases, therefore the entire loving relationship could decrease. I can see that happening, but I don't think that has happened
no.
for
And
us.
I think that I think I've said this in another video before, and it's all about being intentional. Like you have to be intentional about it. It's very easy to allow the kids to take first place and focus all your energy on kids, on work and everything, and then leave the crumbs to your partner. It's very easy to do that. It's very possible for that to happen. But I also think that having more kids also forces you to be intentional and take a step back and realize, hey, this is somebody that I want to spend the rest of my life with, somebody that when the kids are gone, they're still going to be around, and I want our relationship to remain well. So you have to make time for it, and there are lots of ways to do that.
Yeah, that's a key component of a lot of advice, especially when it comes to relationship and marriage. Especially when you listen to a lot of you've gotten a lot of advice from like elderly couple or people who have been married for longer and have a very good relationship and a good marriage. And one thing that always resonates usually is that you have to be intentional about your relationship and building the relationship. Because if not, if you don't spend time to nurture it, to make it grow, then you can screw it out. You can just neglect it. You can neglect the love, you can neglect the relationship, and that can take a toll. Question. I love this paper.
I know, isn't it pretty?
It is. And the texture matches it as well.
Yeah, it's
I'm
nice.
sure it glints in the light. See? It's a nice red.
Yeah, it is. Alright, so.
Question. Do you want a third baby?
The question should be, are we going to have a third baby?
Are we? Subscribe and like to find out. I don't know.
Guys, it's common knowledge. Everybody in person knows that I want a third and I'm fighting for a fourth. But Ibrahim is still on the fence. But then I also think that we should also be sensitive because it's an area that a lot of people think that they are in control in.
Yeah, but you're not really in
they're
control of it. It's not like you can just get up and say, "Oh, I'm just gonna have a child."
Yeah, you really
It's
are.
not that easy.
It's not that easy. It's
so
not that simple.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's not why he doesn't know.
I don't know. What's your favorite chocolate?
My favorite chocolate is none. I don't like chocolate. I know I'm one of those very rare women.
I'm sure there are other women who don't like chocolate.
I said rare. I didn't say the only one. But I don't like chocolate. My husband, on the other hand, loves chocolate. So whenever I get chocolate,
I'm
I bring
not
it
sure
home.
I have a favorite.
What
I know I don't like
What
dark
about
chocolate.
Toblerone or whatever?
Toblerone is okay.
Oh, no, this
I know I don't. I definitely know I don't like dark chocolate. Question. What part of yourself are you working on at this moment? That is a weird question. What part of yourself are you working on at this moment?
At this very moment, I am working on being more patient because my 2-year-old is giving me a run for my money these last few weeks. I was just telling Ibrahim about it. And I feel like I just have to practice being more patient with them. So that's what I'm working on this.
I'm constantly working on patience. I'm not a very patient individual.
And having toddlers really does try it.
Biggest pet peeves.
I think you should answer first.
Me?
Yeah.
That's because she has no pet peeves.
Wait, a pet peeve against you?
Yeah.
Oh, I have a son. So
Oh,
no. Like biggest pet peeves in general or towards you?
It's in general.
I feel like I can only think of a pet peeve like in the moment. Like something happens and I'm like, oh, that's my biggest pet. You know what's my pet peeve right now? Grocery prices in the supermarket.
Stop pointing the thing at people.
That's my pet peeve. Supermarket prices these days, it's insane. Does that qualify as a pet peeve?
I don't think so. I don't think it's a pet peeve.
Okay, a pet peeve of mine is whenever somebody like commits an injustice or something. Like,
and they get away with it.
Yeah, like marking up something or like cheating somebody out of something. I don't like when people like do something unjust to somebody else. That's one of my biggest peeves. What's your biggest pet peeve?
I don't know. Quite frankly.
Yeah, to be honest, I feel like you don't get upset or annoyed by too many. Isn't that what I said? One of the things I like most about you is that you're very easy going. There's not many things you can do to get Ibrahim upset.
Well, now that you put it that way, if I was to think about the last time I got upset, was when I felt that someone was being wrong and they were being wrong and strong about it. As in they were wrong,
road
but
rage,
they were
guys.
trying to
road rage.
Like,
I have
behave like they were in the right.
No, but I don't think that's why you got upset though.
That's like
no, because I find you were calm. So we were driving home from church one Sunday and we got intercepted by another guy who was wrong, by the way, because his side was blocked and like both of them just got stuck in the road and none of them refused to move. But I find he was calm through the whole thing. When he really got upset was when the guy said, he spoke to me and he was like, "You stupid, I hope you never marry that man." And I feel like that just kicked Ibrahim off and he just went off on the guy.
Yeah, he was stepping out of bounds. I can talk to my wife like that.
Yeah.
So, which was harder, going from having no kids to having one, or going from having one child and then having two?
That answer is actually very easy because the circumstances under which we had one and then two was completely different. In fact, I was telling you about that just the other day, right? Because when we had our first, it was middle of COVID. Like I literally had Bella when there was a 24-hour lockdown. Like nobody could come to my house. Like I was alone, and my husband was still working because obviously he's a doctor. So it's not like he got off work like everybody else. So I was alone by
during
myself
COVID, yeah.
with a newborn.
And it was 5 days paternity leave.
And it was 5 days paternity leave, which was spent hustling about trying to get things done before the lockdown.
It was the lockdown. It was during the period of the lockdown. So places were closed. And so, and only supermarkets were open and the lines were super long.
Yeah.
So
being in that position was very hard. I was by myself. I didn't know what I was doing. I've never had a child before. My mom couldn't help me. Nobody could help me because we were not visiting other people. We were not allowed to go to other people's houses. Whereas when I had my second, the circumstances were completely different. One, even if I had a 15-month-old at the time, we had a nanny who still came in those first 3 months. So I had help with the oldest while I myself was dealing with the second. Then I was experienced by that time, like having a baby was fresh in my memory, so it didn't feel as overwhelming as the first one did. So going from 1 to 2 was easy peasy. 0 to 1 was hard, but I think
going from 1 to 2 is always going to be easier.
No,
despite the circumstances.
I have heard some people say
going
that
from 1
to 2
was
harder.
Okay.
Because like with the first child, like it's just 1, blah blah blah, but with the 2, and I could see where I could see where they could get that from, because sometimes when you, especially if they're close in age, like if they're further apart, it's a little easier. But when they're close in age and you have two people vying for your attention at the same time, it can be a little more challenging. But for me, it was easier.
Some of the challenges with having a child is that when it's the first one, you just don't know, what you're doing. And sometimes you have the theory, but then this is practical. Yeah. So it's quite different, and you come up with certain situations, and sometimes you just try, you yourself, you're just learning it out, you know? You're literally a new parent. And so it's tough. But when you have the second and you have the experience of the first, I feel like adjusting to certain things is a little easier on that. Now, another question, a side question. For both kids, the period between the first year, right, between 0 to 1, newborn phase up to 1 year old, versus 1 year old to 2 year old, which is easier?
I would counter you that and say that 2 to 3 is harder, in my personal opinion. 0 to 1, the hard part is 0 to like 3. 0 to 3 months, when they're crying at night, they're not sleeping, you can't put them down for very long, etc. That's hard. And then after they pass that stage, especially if they learn to sleep through the night, it's easy peasy, I find. And then from 1 to 2, they're walking, they're crawling, they're content. A lot of the time they're content just playing with a regular thing they found. So I don't find taking care of them is very hard. But when they reach 2 years old and they have opinions and they throw tantrums and they're just very resistant to authority, I find that can be very challenging. I beg to differ. I honestly think that it gets easier as it goes along progressively. I think
for me the worst part for me was
the newborn stage,
0 to 3 months, and not even.
You like your sleep?
No, not 1 month. It was around the 2 month mark. I think the 2 month period, 6 weeks to 3 months, was the toughest period. But then after that, I don't know. I
feel like the stage that I'm going through now with the youngest one, where she's very self-willed and being very defiant and throwing a lot of tantrums and talking back, screaming at me. That's hard for me. For me, the baby phase, the memory's kind of dull.
And it's probably,
the memory's kind of, well, I interact with it a lot more than you do, because, especially now, because you leave from 9, you come back at 5. And daddy is the...
Yeah, I just give them the look.
Guys, I read a study, and the study said that children are 700 times more likely to misbehave.
700?
It was 700. It's 700 more times likely to misbehave with their mother than with anybody else. And that is true, okay? Because I'll tell Ibrahim, isn't bedtime hard?
You're just triggering people, the women in the comment, in the videos that go down in the comments. And
do your kids do the same thing that they do with you than they do with your husband? Because
the most interesting part is, I
complain about things that they do, and he's like, what? They don't do that.
No,
I'm like,
they don't.
What? because we spend quite a bit of time. No, what I mean is that we have quite a bit of time when they're just with me, and there's a lot of time when they're just with you because of how our work schedule is. So we get to experience them on our own quite a bit.
Yes.
So I would be like, babe, they do this, they do that, and he's like, what?
Yeah, because they don't do those things when it's just me and them.
And I don't feel like I'm a passive parent. Do you feel like I feel like I discipline the kids?
I just think that it's just, I don't know, maybe it's
the study.
But I will give you this though. The most interesting thing is, me and the kids will be here. Either we'll be playing games or doing something, and you will be inside the room resting or sleeping. And something as simple as they want to water, and they will go to the room and wake up their mom
and ask for water. And they're sitting right next to their dad.
And they'll literally, we're playing together, they'll literally get up, leave me there. I I don't understand. Anyways, did you always want to homeschool?
No, I did not. I did not always want to homeschool, but it was something that piqued my interest the very first time I heard it. I would say that. The very first time I heard it, it piqued my interest. But I just never thought it would be like an option. I feel like we're in the Caribbean, like I don't know anybody who does that. I didn't think it was possible. But then the more I read about it, got into it, the more I fell in love with it, and And so the answer is no. No, I didn't always want to homeschool.
That's
but
interesting because I feel like I was exposed to homeschooling before you did, in terms of the concept and everything.
Yes,
I just didn't
because
take it.
You met.
I actually met a homeschooling family once.
Yeah, and I
with like 4 kids and stuff, and awesome, really excellent family. And I thought this is really nice and cool.
So you want to tell them how you got into homeschooling? Because here's a fun.
No, it's because of you.
But what
that
changed your
brought it
mind
up.
though? Because that's a question I see a lot when I'm in like a lot of homeschool.
That's the next question actually. It says what to do if you want to homeschool but your husband does not want to homeschool.
And that was our case, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I didn't think much.
Yeah, when I first brought this issue up, it was like I wanted to do it, but he was like, not really.
Yeah, but the reason why you wanted to
that was definitely a thing. When I first started to when I first wanted to homeschool, it was very fear-based. It was the public school system, they're just going to indoctrinate my kids, and I don't want them to be in that kind of thing. Yeah. It was very, very fear-based.
And not just indoctrinate, it was just like this extreme overbearing desire to kind of
protect,
cocoon, overprotect, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
The children from everything bad. And my take was that you can't do that. That you better preparing your kids for the outside world. And so rather than focus on the overprotection aspect of it, is ensuring that they're well prepared, because whether they're 2 or they're 16, at some point they're going to be exposed to different things in life, and you want them to grow. So you want to help them, to give them the tools necessary to grow. And I also agree that you do not want to expose them to certain things, or overexpose them to certain things that is not age appropriate, right? So there are certain children at certain age, you don't want to have them be saturated with certain things when they're not at an age where they can absorb that information and kind of critically kind of assimilate it. Because there are certain things that a 12-year-old will be able to be exposed to, I think, that a 5-year-old should not be.
Yes.
You know?
So I agree. Initially, when I thought of homeschooling, my reasoning was initially fear-based. That I totally accept. But I grew a lot in terms of the way I thought about it, and I was exposed to other aspects of homeschooling in terms of the type of education that I wanted my kids to receive. You know, I got really into classical education, Charlotte Mason inspired education, and that's something that you don't usually get in a public school setting. So
absolutely.
there was that, and then there was just the aspect that I feel like we both grew in that area where we wanted to be more hands-on in terms of discipling our kids for Christ, and we really thought that sending them away for 6 to 8 hours of the day, 5 days a week, was a very long time. So I feel like I grew in that area, and then the more I grew, the more I read about it, the more I watched videos about it. My husband and I, we talk a lot, for hours, and these were conversations we had for a long time.
I agree.
And we both grew in that area where we both wanted to be more active in the education of our kids, Christian education as well as the literal
because I think that you can actually get a lot done. I still I think that having something that is a bit of a hybrid is good, but subsequently it all comes down to be able to be active in your child's education and the things that you do, like having hands-on approach. And the society and the world we live in nowadays is almost like I have a child. It's not. I have a child and I go to work. I leave the child as early as 6 months or 3 months if you're maternity leave. If you're, yeah, and it's like somebody else raising your child and doing all of those things, and I think that that's not very good, and it has absolutely have very bad effects on the family and the relationship with the child and all of those things, and you're not in control in terms of the things that you influence your child about. And so that's a whole separate conversation. But essentially the settling it is I think one way is agreeing on certain things. So if what advice I would give to somebody, being somebody who I wasn't really too into the homeschooling thing, I think that first of all you have to start at where you agree. Like there are certain things that you have to agree upon, and then you figure out how could we do this. And so right. And so there's certain things that you have to agree upon first. And in terms of homeschooling, you have to agree on, like in our case, one of the things that we hadn't really agreed upon was the why. Like as to the beginning, that's to the why of the homeschooling.
And because if somebody spoke to me and like the reason to homeschool was the reason that I had in the beginning, I would advise not to.
Yeah, because the reality is that you cannot fully protect just because you homeschool a child does not mean they're going to grow up Christian, they're going to do X, Y, Z.
But I feel like my reasoning has changed from being defensive to being offensive. So before, I literally was in this defensive position where
I'm afraid of what could happen if they're exposed.
Whereas now I'm much more offensive in the sense that I'm not scared. I really don't. I feel like I have definitely gotten over that fear. But I would much rather be proactive in reading it. And I think that having them with me, growing up with them, is great.
Yeah, it is.
As compared to them being off for so many hours.
And for me that's a key point. And again, I think homeschooling is okay. Now the question is it something I feel that I should be doing and we should be doing as a family? So one of the parts
I think what you're trying to reach at is that while I am pro homeschooling as long as my kids are in school, you would probably prefer like the younger years homeschool and then when they get older to be in actual school.
Yeah, I don't know yet if I want them to be homeschooled completely forever.
And I don't think I would say that either.
Yeah, so at this point I don't know. I wouldn't say
homeschool
forever. You're taking it one step at a time. But one thing that I definitely agree with, and like I said, this is where you start with. If one partner wants to homeschool and the other one doesn't, you have to agree on family dynamics and what's important in your life. Because most likely if you live in a modern world and your modern family, and especially if like one or both of you are professionals, like in our case, it probably means that you probably have a day in which your normal week is you wake up in the morning at about 6 o'clock and then you're preparing for work and preparing the kids for school, rushing around, trying to get breakfast and lunch and all of those things ready. You leave the house about 7 o'clock, drop the kids off at school, go to work, spend the rest of the day, and you're probably coming back at 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. That's the end of your day. That's a good almost 10 hours a week, right? So you could easily spend 10 hours away, the very good part of the day, away from any sort of family life and any sort of family interaction. And plus, if you're honest with yourself and you come home, it's not like you're going to spend the next 3 hours really engaging with the child. It's going to be some part of it is they're going to be spent in their room, either watching TV or texting the friends that they already left in school. So and if this repeats and recurs over a period of time, there's going to be a time when you wake up and you realize that the greatest influence over your child's life is going to be their friends, it's going to be the TV, it's going to be some celebrity that they're watching on social media. And so that's a concern, and I think that as a parent, you kind of have to grow to kind of develop. Ideally, I think that's what you should aspire to grow, to develop this kind of relationship and interaction with your child, and that
especially
only comes
if you're
with
Christian, because
and that only
like,
comes with the time.
And I feel like, especially if you're Christian, because at the end of the day, if you don't have that time to spend with your kids to teach them about God, you best believe
Someone else will.
And not in the way that you want.
Exactly. And so I feel like that's one point that you could agree on, that this is not ideal and it could be better.
I remember when we used to have those conversations, what Ibrahim used to say a lot was, well, you just be intentional about the time that you do have with them, which I agree. But then what I pointed out was that time is so minimal in the first place.
It is minimal. And
because when you wake up in the morning, you're rushing off to school, and then when you come back, you're rushing off to clean the house or cook or whatever the case is, and then like you don't have quality time with the kids.
And the interesting thing is,
you are working full-time.
Growing up in an African setting, in an African country, growing up there, living there for all my childhood until I was an adult, it's different. It's a very Easternized culture. It's very
family centric.
It is family centric more than the Western culture.
You very rarely have both parents working full time.
It was just different than what I see now in terms of, and it's frankly it's the norm in Western society. And when you factor in, the more the kids get older, they get to do extracurricular activities, and then on the weekends, like either one or both parents is working, or they have to do chores around the house.
Or the kids want to spend it with their friends.
Yeah, exactly. So kids just become an afterthought, and so that's where I feel like family becomes an afterthought. And so that's a place that you want to agree on. And if you agree that we could probably be doing better in terms of family cohesion and being, watching that and be better about it, then that's a good place to start.
Yeah, well, what I would say and what I did was, one, I prayed about it. I always was like, God, please help Ibrahim to see what I'm seeing. And then the other thing I did, which is an advice I learned from somebody else, and they say that if you want to change your husband's mind about something, show him the facts. Women are emotional. It's like, no, I want to spend more time with the kids. Whereas the guys, they don't see that aspect of it. I find that women are more emotional, but men deal better with actual facts. So if you have studies or concrete evidence of whatever it is that you trying to convince him of, then use that. Alright, so guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed our little Q&A. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
It's been fun questions, interesting. Some of them were thought-provoking. Let us know what are some of your thoughts with regards to those questions, what you think, advice. Get down in the comments below and let's just have a conversation. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. This is the last video until the new year. We wish you a very Merry Christmas, and we pray that 2024 is filled with everything that you could possibly dream of. Thank you guys so much for tuning in over the last year. We are so grateful to have each and every one of you supporting us. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
Subscribe. 2024. New things are going.
I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.